Call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Take the attendance.
All council members are present, Mr. Mayor.
We have Councilman Collins is on Zoom.
That is correct.
Excellent. All right, action to approve the agenda. Item 3 is the approval of the agenda. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Been moved and
Second.
seconded. Will Clerk, please call the roll.
Specker,
Aye.
Tiltonburn,
Aye.
Wendell, Avery,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer.
Aye. Okay, open forum. In order to provide equal access to all during the open forum, each member offering comments during the open forum shall not exceed the allotted 3-minute period. Your time to comment has expired when the red light on the podium appears. No further comments may be made by a member speaking during the open forum after the red light appears. That being said, is there a member of the public who wishes to address the council on an item not listed on tonight's agenda? Good evening.
My name is Jeanette Gibbons. I live in Brookings, South Dakota. And my purpose tonight is just to address some updates on COVID, the subject that just keeps on giving. So in recent happenings, last week, the CDC, under the advisement of the ACIP, decided to add the COVID vaccines to the child immunization list. So kind of normalizing that or making it look like it's normalized. So that occurred last week at the same time that our Health and Human Services.gov put out a press release that the COVID emergency, the national public health emergency, is now scheduled to end on May 11th, 2023. Now, I just find it kind of interesting that we're calling a halt to the conditions being so drastic and concerning that, we're no longer going to call it a public health emergency, yet at the same time putting those experimental vaccines on the child immunization list. Now, before anyone rolls their eyes too much about the child immunizations, COVID being experimental, I've made several phone calls, several visits to pharmacies around here. I talked to pharmacists, and one particular pharmacy I talked to in Sioux Falls is listed as a provider of the FDA-approved Comirnaty. However, in a discussion that lasted about 10 minutes with this particular pharmacist, it came to light that the FDA approved was for 18 and older. It was for the first 2 shots only in the series, and it never applied to children. So yes, the vaccine is experimental for children, so I hope parents will be fully informed if they decide to take that route with their children. Now, there's a lot of information coming to light these days about the vaccines, and another area that I'm keeping track of are things out in Pierre. So today was a House bill, and I want to get the number right, House Bill 1235, which is a conscientious objection for people to no longer take the COVID vaccine. So instead of a health condition or instead of a religious exemption, if this bill goes through, they would be able to claim a conscientious objection. Now, that would be a huge boost. But among the people that testified there was a remote call-in by Dr. Brian Ardis, Bryanardis, and he can give you the rundown on vaccines. If you want somebody that has done their research, who has personal tragedies to relay to all of us, I first heard him speak at a conference in August of 2021, talking about his father-in-law treated with remdesivir and the ventilators, which killed him in the hospital. But he also speaks to vaccines. So I would encourage everybody to go back and listen to the testimony and the views that were given at for that conference or for that committee meeting. Thank you.
Is there anyone else has open forum? That being said, we'll move on to item 5, consent agenda. Approval of the consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any public comment on any item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, does council have any questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Tilton Burn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Duran,
Aye.
Neemeyer,
Aye.
Specker.
Aye.
Okay. Item 6, presentations and reports. 6A is SDSU Students Association report. I'm assuming our SA president, Blake Pulse, will be giving us a report.
Good evening. Yes, Blake Pulse here. Erica couldn't be with us tonight. Just a few updates with you for you this evening. We're getting ready for our election season. It's coming up fast. We had 2 tickets nominated for presidential and vice president last night, so we will have a contested race, which is exciting. Petitions are currently open for Senate positions for each of the 7 academic colleges, and those close on February 24th. We're working through our budgeting process right now. We're finalizing final touches in the coming week. We have 17 student orgs, clubs, and services that will be on that budget this year. To highlight a few, we have Rabbit Ride, Hobo Day Committee, and Little International. Right now, our Senate is exploring more funding options for Rabbit Ride and potentially hoping to get that to operate on Wednesday nights in addition to the weekends. Legislation going on through PEER right now is the big one that we've been working on is Senate Bill 63, the rodeo arena practice facility that would be added to the SDSU campus. It did pass Senate Ag and Natural Resources Committee 6-0 with 1 absent. So that's a big win, and next step would be appropriations there. Another topic that we've been discussing is the addition of a scoreboard on the north end of Dana J. Dykhouse Stadium for the student section. And I did bring a senator with me to talk a little bit more on the scooter project. So Nick Grote is a senator with the College of AHSS.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. So I'm excited to talk about the scooters. So we recently have a resolution that was just put through Students Association voicing our support for the city and for SDSU to implement an electric scooter operation. So I know there's a lot of talk about that, but I wanted to explain a little bit like what that would look like. So currently we've had 2 scooter companies that have presented interest. One is Bird and the other is Spin. So a little difference between those 2 is that Spin, the people that would do the operations would be employed by Spin, there would be W-2 employees. And then Bird, they would subcontract somebody else in the community to do the operations. So what is the operation? So the city and SDSU would both go around and they would find designated areas that they would like these scooters to be parked. And when you go to a scooter, you can scan the QR code and it would unlock the ride. You would create an account, it would scan your driver's license to make sure that you've had the proper training to drive on city streets. And if we do sidewalks, that's something we could look at too. And then you could go wherever you'd please, and then you can only end the ride in the specific areas that we found. So there wouldn't be a whole lot of clutter. And we can look at places to geofence off. So if there's a place like McCrory Gardens that we don't want scooters riding through, we can geofence that off. These scooter companies have been super open to they're very flexible on how this operation could look. So another concerns that I hear a lot though is liability. So when you create an account with these scooter companies, you accept the terms and conditions, and in that it talks about how you are indemnified. The municipality and the university would be indemnified from anything. We can look more into that when it comes time. We're hoping to actually create a meeting with some of the city, anybody who has vested interest in this. We would love to talk to you more about what this process would look like, but we just wanted to let you know what all the progress that's been happening. Thank you.
All right. City Council ex officio reports. Who wants to do the utility board one? Councilman Avery.
I'll do that one. Attended the meeting yesterday, so it's all fresh in my mind. You know, that meeting does last quite a while, so there's a lot of financial information and things that we go over, but there was a couple of things that stood out to me as being more important or more interesting than the others, and one was we talked a lot about the projects that are going to be coming up in the city next year, the major street construction projects. And I think the goal of both the BMU and the city is to get as much information out as possible so everybody knows what's going to happen and where it's going to happen and how it's going to affect them. And the discussion yesterday was that, well, there are some timelines, but as in a major project like that, dealing with so many different factors, you never exactly know when the projects are going to be done, when they're going to start, and how they might overlap and intersect with each other. So a lot of discussion about that, but I think everybody's goal is to get as much information out and have as much feedback and interaction with the public as possible. And the first thing that's coming up is a week from Thursday, February 23rd, from 5 to 6:30, right in this building, in this space. There's going to be a whole public open house to review all those construction projects, and the people that are responsible for those will be here, and they'll be able to answer questions. And then there's going to be some information that's going to be available on an ongoing basis on our website and different things there. I know there's a QR code. I'm not an expert on QR codes, but I know that's going to be good for a lot of people. Right, Bonnie? Okay, and then another thing I thought that was interesting is the MRES, which is the entity that the city or the utilities buys our power from, is going to build or has acquired an 80-acre site near the landfill, south of the landfill, and they're going to be building a solar energy project there. So it'll be to start with a 5-megawatt plant with the goal to expand that into a 10-megawatt plant. But it won't directly, the city won't own it, the utilities won't own it, it's the power supplier that will own it. But that's some of that power will be able to use right here in the Brookings area. So that seemed like a really kind of an exciting project. So I told him I thought those were the highlights. It's sewers and those things are exciting, but this might be better. So that's all I got.
All right, thanks, Wayne. And Bree, are you doing that one?
Yep,
All right.
I will report on that. They gave quite a few updates, so I have a little bit longer of a report, so bear with me. Some first things, just general, is that they changed the medical staff bylaws. The pediatric age was changed from 14 to 17, so if you have families, it doesn't really affect the care that you will receive. It's just a change on the hospitalist program. It's evolved, and so 18 is a better marker for adults, and that's what's used in most facilities. So you as a individual or family will not be affected by this. 2023 team share finance goals were voted on and approved, so that's what the finance and quality team will be working on over the year. And they have quite a few job openings. The foundation director position is opening and accepting applications, along with quite a few jobs at the neighborhoods at Brookview. And then they did recently hire a new HR director, Lacey Ellsworth. And then one thing that's coming to council in the future is they're just updating their city ordinance relating to structure, regulations, operations, just those things of Brookings Health System. So that will come in the future to us. Then a couple of community-focused updates. The first is our new community health worker, Alyssa Olson. She got a promotion in the Midwest Medical Edition, just about how CHWs are a new health initiative that is started in South Dakota. It works with the program works with patients who have recurring needs, particularly related to the social determinants of health, and help with care coordination beyond the hospital walls, so after they're discharged. And for those who don't know what social determinants of health are, it's the environment you're in, from education to economic stability, social and community context, kind of your environment. There are several mental health measures and workforce development initiatives that are being tracked through the legislature. And then an inpatient and case management task force was developed to monitor and identify action plans for case management barriers to patient care and patient claim denials. So you've seen that a lot of BHS is focusing on new initiatives around patient care and really emphasizing that efficiency and the quality of care through that process. And then they created a new position that was added on to an existing one. Karen Weber, our current ED director, is now working on patient experience improvement initiatives and trainings for BHS staff. And so she just put on her first education about creating exceptional first impressions. And she'll be doing more educations for staff throughout the year. And then the final community-focused update is the AHA, or American Hospital Association, rolled out a 1, 2, 3 for Equity campaign to eliminate healthcare disparities in 2015. And BHS signed a pledge in 2022 with 28 other South Dakota hospitals. So an update on that is that CMS is rolling out new voluntary measures this year that will become mandatory next year. That includes hospital commitment to health equity, advancing health equity, and screen positive rate for social drivers of health. And then one just spotlight promo is that the home health hospice director was asked by the South Dakota Association of Hospitals to serve as the South Dakota representative on the CGS Provider Outreach and Education Advisory Group for Hospice. And CGS is a national company that works with Medicare and Medicaid services. So quite a few updates on initiatives and a lot of focus on patient care and experience too, even beyond discharging.
Thank you, Bree.
Thank you.
Question? Nick?
I just had a question for Counselor Avery. I was curious about investing in the Brookings area. Was there something about Brookings or the Brookings region that made them decide to invest here? We're the only location in the region that they're doing this in, correct?
That's correct, and I don't know what the process was to do it. I know it's been in discussions for a while, and I think at one time it was that the BMU was going to maybe possibly do it on their own, and then it went to the MRES, which is probably better because they do all the investment and the building and everything, and then it's utilized here. But yeah, the origination of why they did it here and not somewhere else, I don't know.
Okay. All right, we'll move on. Contracts and change orders. Item 7A, action on resolution 23-015. A resolution awarding bids on the 2023-04 STI 22nd Avenue Phase 2 reconstruction project. Charlie Richter, our city engineer, will present this item.
I'm here tonight requesting approval of Resolution 23-15, amending the bid for awarding the bid for 22nd Avenue Phase. This bid is for the widening of travel lanes, new concrete sidewalk, and shared use path, replacement of underground utilities, traffic signals, and street lighting for a portion of 22nd Avenue between Eastbrook Drive and 8th Street South. Of the 5 bidders for the project, Timmons Construction was the lowest bidder at $4,045,199.65. As part of this project, the city has joined with BMU to provide a new website and community outreach, including including an open house scheduled for February 22nd, just like Councilman Avery mentioned, which we encourage everyone to attend. Staff recommends approval of the resolution to award the contract to Timmons Construction.
Thanks, Charlie. Entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and second. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, does the council have any questions or comments? I asked a question once. Paul, do you remember what was the original estimate on this if we would have done it maybe 3 or 4 years ago?
I couldn't tell you.
Was
Or Jake?
Was it between 2.5, 3 mil, somewhere in there?
Yeah, it was closer to $3 million, yes,
Yeah. Inflation.
quite a bit.
Construction costs have gone stupid, so. Anyway, any other comments, questions?
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tilton Burn.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 7B, action on resolution 23-011, a resolution approving the purchase of 2 Hustler mowers. Dick Meshi, our deputy city manager, will present this item.
Good evening, Mayor and members of 23-011 would authorize the purchase of 2 Hustler mowers as replacements for those that have surpassed their useful life. Through the use of purchasing cooperative Sourcewell, vendor Brookings Equipment provided a cost mowers. This is within the project budget of $55,000. Staff recommends approval of the resolution and will stand.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, does the council have any questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye, I'm sorry.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tiltonburn,
Aye.
Wendell.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item A, ordinances, first readings. Item 8A, introduction and first reading on ordinance 23-003, an ordinance amending Chapter 94, Article 6, Division 4, Section 94-432 for the purposes of amending the minimum required parking spaces. Mike Struck, our Community Development Director, will review this item for us.
Thank you, Mayor. And for you tonight is an amendment to the parking regulations within our zoning ordinance. This comes as kind of a discussion item, kind of internally over the last couple of years, and then presented it to the Planning Commission through a series of meetings to provide them some options to look at and consider. We had the benefit of one of our Planning Commission members having access to a drone and helped us out with getting some drone imagery. We tried to sync that drone imagery up with the Google Maps to kind of see when a particular business would have a high attendance rate so that we had as accurate information as possible. Through the process, ultimately came to some recommendations on reduction of parking. I'll just highlight some of the key areas. On the residential side, with the two-family dwelling as well as with apartments, we felt it was more appropriate to reduce the parking and basically go with one parking space per bedroom. The difference between the two-family and the apartments is to allow for additional parking in a multifamily type setting. We also added in the provision that it would be one per bedroom plus 10% of the total units within that complex. So if there was 100 units in there, you would have 10 extra spaces plus however many bedrooms contained within each of those 100 units. It was a reduction based upon what we currently had. I guess where this kind of all stems from, we would rather see our land utilized more efficiently with buildings and businesses than seeing these sea of asphalt parking lots that through our review, we found multiple or many times they were sitting vacant. So it's an opportunity to reduce some of the parking requirements. They're just the minimum parking requirements. A business certainly has the prerogative to provide additional parking if they so choose or if that's what their business model needs. But we didn't want to be viewed as a hindrance. And so we felt this was part of the overall strategic plan of the city of being sustainable and be a more efficient utilization of our land. A question did come up, does this impact single-family dwellings? No, there's no parking changes to that. And if it's single-family dwelling, you have to provide 2 off-street parking requirements. Would this encourage single-family dwellings to convert to 2-family dwellings? I wouldn't say these parking reductions would, because the current standards are as if you have a 3-bedroom unit in a 2-family dwelling, you're required to provide 3 parking spaces. If you have a 4-bedroom, you're only required to provide 3 parking spaces. So in a nutshell, if you had a 4-bedroom unit, you would require more parking than what the current ordinance requires based upon the 1 per bedroom standard. But we felt overall, when you looked at especially high density areas, there's a lot of excess parking, and we felt that that could be better utilized to provide additional housing units or to make the overall site footprint smaller and incorporate green space. This does come to you as a unanimous recommendation from the Planning Commission, and the Development Review Team supports these recommendations, and I'd stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mike. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, does the council have any questions or comments? Councilmember Wendell.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the point you just made, Mike. Yes, I think this is an important step forward in better utilizing our space and not forcing developers or builders to incur costs that's probably unnecessary in terms of investment in parking. It'll be underutilized. One of the questions that I had was around that maybe two-family dwelling that would be on a block with multiple single-family dwellings. And if you live in a neighborhood like that, you may be thinking, does this change affect the amount of street parking that will now happen on my block? But what I just heard you say is, in fact, if there's some conversion, it may actually force more parking spots to be required per bedroom for a home that might be utilized as a rental or a multifamily dwelling now.
Correct. So right now, in a two-family dwelling situation, you're required to provide 2 off-street parking spaces, but if you have 3 or more bedrooms, you're required to provide 3 total. You do get into those situations where, you know, sometimes there's a twin home that has, 2 4-bedrooms, and they have to find some sort of relative combination to meet our family definition, but they're only required to provide 3 off-street parking spaces for each unit. This would actually require them to provide 4. So it would be an additional parking space that they would be needed. So
I think that's an important clarification. I think as we see in particular certain rental homes spreading out into different neighborhoods in the community, I think that's an experience some, owner-occupied single-family homes are having, is that street parking. We hear about that often. And so I wanted to make sure there was clarity around this, that actually this has the potential to be a more stringent off-street parking requirement.
correct.
Any other questions or comments? We'll on the February 28th meeting. Thank you, Mike. Item 8B, introduction and first reading ordinance 23-004, an ordinance amending section 62-86 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Brookings, South Dakota to provide for designation of no-mow vegetation areas and no-mow may in the City of Brookings, South Dakota. I'm going to probably ruin this last name on this. Gabrielle Bulwark? Bulwark. Robin Butterbaugh and Kylie Rath from the Sustainability Council will review this item for us.
Council members, I am Gabby Bulwark.
I'm Kylie Rath.
I was going to say get close to the mic.
And I'm Robin, and we're representing the Sustainability Council, and we're here to just give a little bit of an update about some of the things we're working on regarding the No Mow May ordinance amendment. No Mow May is a national campaign to protect food and habitat areas, and we propose ordinance 23-004 to allow residents to participate in No Mow May practices in Brookings.
To provide a little bit of background, No Mow May is a national campaign that is advocated by Bee City USA, and the goal of No Mow May is to raise awareness for emerging pollinators by encouraging the temporary cessation of mowing lawns during the month of May. There are other successful campaigns that are occurring in cities similar to ours, one of which is Stevens Point, Wisconsin, which is also a college town, Appleton, Wisconsin, and Edina, Minnesota. So our proposal is that there would be an exception in vegetation management practices during the month of May, and that would allow residents to participate with no violation notices given for lawns over 15 inches. So the benefit of this to the pollinators would be an increase in potential food sources and also a reduction of disturbance during this critical time of their life as they might still be emerging from the ground. The lawns must be back in compliance by June 7th. That is when the enforcement would occur. And we would provide yard signs advertising this campaign free of charge to anybody who would like to participate.
So some of the considerations, the city attorney, Stephen Bridsman, has drafted the ordinance amendment, and it is part of the Brookings Council and Sustainability Council's strategic plan, allowing emerging pollinators access to food and resources during a critical life stage. There's a lot of talk about pollinator decline, and so this is kind of an innovative way that we would love to be able to provide some more habitat for them. And then the financial funding would be provided by our Brookings Sustainability Council budget
And as far as public communication goes, we will have a press release. A NOMO May webpage has been created but is not yet public until we get the details finalized. We plan to put out some social media posts, potential print and radio media as well, and the yard signs will be available for pickup hopefully by April 1st in the government center here. And that is what the design of the signs will look like.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. We'd love to answer any questions that you might have.
All right. Is there any public comment on this item? See none. Does the council have any questions or comments? I'd like to thank you for the work that you've put into this. I appreciate you serving on the Sustainability Committee. I think this is a pretty good project, and at least I don't have to try and start my mower up in May yet. So, with that being said, we'll have second reading and action on this particular item on the 28th of February. Thank you,
All right,
ladies.
thank you.
Item 8C, introduction and first reading on ordinance 23-005, an ordinance granting a non-exclusive natural gas franchise to Northwestern Corporation, doing business as Northwestern Energy and a Delaware corporation to furnish and sell natural gas to the city and its inhabitants. John Thompson, our Public Works Director, will present this item.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Ordinance 23-005 proposes a non-exclusive franchise agreement with Northwestern Corporation, doing business as Northwestern Energy, to continue providing natural gas services to city residents. The term of the proposed agreement is 10 years with an option to extend the term by 5 additional years. Northwestern has been the primary natural gas provider for the city since the mid-1950s, and the current ordinance, number 32-12, will expire on March 21st, 2023. The proposed franchise agreement is a product of collaborative negotiations between the city staff, the city engineer, and representatives from Northwestern. The base language, modeled after the 2013 ordinance, and appropriately addresses public safety concerns associated with gas pipelines and legal protections for the city. Additional language has been added to address current non-discrimination laws and sharing of Northwestern's proprietary infrastructure with city staff. Northwestern has the technical, managerial, and financial means to support, expand, and maintain their gas network infrastructure and is in good standing with the city. For these reasons, staff recommends moving this item to a second reading and action on February 28th, 2023. That completes staff's presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, John. Seeing none, does the council have questions or comments on this item? Of course, we'll review this again on the 28th and vote on that then. Thank you, John. Item 8D, introduction and first reading on ordinance 23-006, an ordinance authorizing budget amendment number 11 to the 2022 budget. Ashley Wrench, our Senior Finance Manager, will review this item.
This is the first reading of ordinance 23-006, authorizing amendment number 11 to the 2022 budget. Several departments in the Fire, Police, and City Clerk require amendments to ensure proper budget authority for the end-of-year expenditures as we close out the 2022 financial statements. These amendments are all budget neutral, as excess revenues received in each department are being added to the budget, which cover these expenditures. This includes revenues and corresponding expenditures of $65,000 in subsidies, $49,002 in the fire department, $20,591 in the police department, and $6,954 in the city clerk department. The second reading of this ordinance will be on February 28th, and with that, I'll stand by for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, council questions, comments? We'll revisit this on the 28th. All right, next one, item 9, public hearings and second readings. Item 9A, second reading, action on ordinance 23-002, an ordinance authorizing budget amendment number 1 to the 2023 budget. Ashley Wrench, our Senior Finance Manager, will review this item also.
Mayor and members of ordinance 23- Amendment Number 1 to the 2023 budget. The City Council held a study session last July to determine the allocation of American Rescue Plan Act funding received from the federal government, and $2.2 million was allocated to community stakeholders for the following initiatives that are scheduled to begin in 2023. $1.2 million for the Brookings Behavioral Health and Wellness Ivy Center for design and construction to renovate and expand the facility, $580,000 to Brookings Economic Development Corporation for child care initiatives, $200,000 to Clark Drew Construction for workforce housing, $110,000 to Brookings Area Habitat for Humanity for construction of 1 new single-family home, and finally, $110,000 to Interlakes Community Action Partnership to subsidize the cost of lots, help with rental assistance, and weatherization deferrals. No changes have been made since the first reading, and staff recommends approval of this ordinance as presented. With that, I'll stand by for any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, council have any questions, comments? Councilman Collins, I'm just wondering if you have any comments on this one? Don't want to make sure that you know you're still in the meeting. Please call the roll.
I'm still here.
Yeah. All right, please call the roll.
I keep forgetting to push the button.
Avery,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tiltonburn,
Aye.
Wendell.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. Item 9B, public hearing and action on Resolution 23-010, a resolution of intent to lease real property to Rural Technologies Incorporated. Mike Struck, our Community Development Director, will review this item for us.
Thank you, Mayor. And Mayor, tonight with Resolution 23-010, property to Rural Technologies Incorporated at the Research and Technology Center located at 801 32nd Avenue. RTI has been a tenant within this building since 2013. The lease has been set up pretty much to run on an annual basis. They're on a month-to-month lease. This lease did expire, and so the option is to renew it. We would propose that it continue on a month-to-month basis for a period of 1 year with the option, if both parties agreed to renew, for 2 additional 1-year options. The terms of the lease are staying the same as they have been. They have lab and office space, of which it's approximately almost 11,000 square feet out there that they pay at $10 a square foot. They also lease up on the map there, it's shown as Unit 3, which is garage space, and that's unfinished space that they lease at $4 a square foot. They are billed accordingly for their utility usage out there. They are the only tenant that we have in that particular facility. On an annual basis, it generates approximately $118,000 in revenue. There are expenses associated with it, but then the excess funds are transferred over to the general fund. Staff does recommend approval moving forward on a month-to-month basis, and then the much larger discussion will come in the future of what to do with this facility. There have been discussions with RTI. They do need some lead time to find new space because they are pretty specialized wet laboratory space out there, and with their animal research and diagnostics that they do, they need to make sure that it's the right setup for them to prevent any sort of contamination. And so they do have those cross-contamination systems set up within the existing facility. So it is a pretty specialized space for their particular needs. And so, we'll continue the discussions with them on the future, finding them a future location. But with that, staff does recommend approval of the resolution. I'd stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mike. Open the public hearing on this item. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, does council have questions, comments? Please call the roll.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tiltonburn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Collins.
Aye.
All right, item 10A, other business, action on resolution 23-016, a resolution transferring city manager contingency funds to city departments. Ashley Wrench, our finance manager, will review this item.
Mayor, 23-016, transferring city manager contingency funds to Sarah United Way funding recommendation of $242,480, which is the next item on the agenda, utilizes the full budgeted amount in the social service agency funding account. This resolution will add $5,000 of city manager's contingency funds to this account for the United Way's administrative expense for facilitating the application and recommendation process. Staff recommends approval of this ordinance or this resolution as presented, and I'll stand by for any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Ashley. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, the council have any questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tiltonburn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Duran.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 10B, discussion and possible action on the 2023 outside agency funding recommendations. Paul Brasino, our city manager, and Heidi Gullickson, United Way director, will review this item.
Annually, the City Council budgets funds for outside agencies. In 2023, approximately $2.5 million was budgeted for all agencies. $2,480 was targeted towards social service agency needs. In 2022, the City Council recommended prioritization of areas of food security for the community of Brookings. This prioritization helped develop the impact rubric for 2023 strategic funding. Through a dual process, the United Way assists the city by accepting applications that make recommendations to City Council through the rubric, and then follows up with an annual reporting later in the summer. This year's budget for social service agencies was increased by 5%. In total, 13 agencies submitted applications, and staff recommends approval of the recommendation for 2023 social service agency funding as provided tonight. Heidi with United Way is here and can speak further on any of the recommendations and through the funding process if desired by council.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Moved and second. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, does council have any questions or comments? Councilmember Dorn.
Conflict of interest again, since my employer is United Way. This budget was prepared by Heidi and other United Way staff and approved by the United Way board. So thank you. That's all. And thank you, Heidi, for all the work you do.
Thank you. Councilmember Avery.
Well, I'd just like to commend Heidi and her staff on the recommendations. I think she took some of the thoughts that we had expressed in some other meetings and that, and tried to take what the goals of the council were into consideration, along with what funds we had to work with. And I think you've done a real good job of that, and I'm in favor of everything you've done here.
Thank you.
Councilmember Wendell.
Thank you, Mayor. Are the organizations that we're funding, these dollars are for fiscal year 23?
Yes.
And most of them, are they operating from like a January to December fiscal year?
I would say most, oh, that's really loud tonight. I would say most of them, but I know it's not all of them.
Okay.
I know the domestic abuse shelter works more on a June, July type of time period. Somebody does in October. So most of them are in that time period, but not all of them.
I kind of just wanted to confirm that our the timing of when we make this decision and they know what dollar amount they're going to get from us aligns well with the way they operate their budgets. It sounds like that might be hard to accomplish given that so many of them are on different timetables, but is February a good time for them to know what their 23 appropriation from the city is going to be?
You know, I think they fill out the application, they know what the timing is, so they can make those adjustments within their application. It lines up with the United Way funding time period, so most of them are used to that kind of timing.
Thank you.
Comments, questions? Give you a little bit of latitude here so you can advertise your open house for the new building that you're in. We did have, some of us were fortunate enough to have a tour. It's very nice. It's going to serve our community well. And if you want to throw it out there for your open house, you certainly
right.
have the time now.
Thank you. We have moved in of Brookings Area Food Pantry backpack program, and then the Senior Commodities program will also run out of there. We are looking at doing an open house to the public, probably end of March. We're still waiting on a few pieces of furniture and door frames and a few little things to finish up. So we'll get that information out as soon as we're scheduling, but probably looking at towards the end of March on that one. Since you threw me the latitude, I'm going to take it and just put a plug out there for our February 20th event, which is open to the community. It's the Stronger Together, a Day for Suicide Prevention out at the Swift Health Center. And so folks can find that information on our website as well as social media, or just give our office a call at 692-4979.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.
Please call the roll.
Specker.
Aye.
Tildenburn.
Aye.
Wendell.
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Collins.
Aye.
Duran.
Aye.
Niemeyer.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. We do have executive session tonight, but let's go into introduction to topics, future discussion. Anybody have anything on the agenda that they want to bring up? I know that Bree has an announcement that she'd like to make, and that's, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Announce that our first community council office hours for 2023 is on Tuesday, February 28th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We're going to try it virtual this time to be more accessible during the workday. So you can follow City of Brookings on social media, especially our Facebook, for more information and then the link to that as well.
Thank you, Bree.
Thank you.
I also received we've been getting some announcements about the South Dakota DOT was going to do a informational meeting, question and answer thing for the I-29 exit 133 interchange modification. But due to weather concerns, the meeting has been postponed, and it won't be until March 30th now. At same time, 5:30 to 7 in the same building, same chambers here. So I'm sure that announcement will come out there again, but it was something I just got an email on just prior to the meeting. So I thought maybe I'd throw that announcement out there because it's supposed to be tomorrow night. Hopefully the weather doesn't get that bad. Okay, with that being said, any other council member comments? Introduction to, okay. Executive session. Enter an executive session pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2.1 for purpose of discussing the qualifications, competence, performance, character, or fitness of any public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee. The term employee does not include any independent contractor. SDCL 1-25-2.1 for consulting with legal counsel or reviewing communications from legal counsel about proposed or pending litigation or contractual matters, and SDCL 1-25-2.5 discussing marketing or pricing strategies by a board or commission of a business owned by the state or of its political subdivisions, when public discussion may be harmful to the competitive position of this business. We will not be doing any business at the adjournment of this executive session, and I entertain a motion to enter into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Voice vote for executive session.
Aye.
All those-
Aye.
Aye.
We are in executive session.